Hello and welcome to the Atoll, your home for Waterworld fandom. On this channel, we dive deep into this cult sci-fi adventure franchise and bring new discoveries to the surface. In today's video, we will be investigating the Mariner's backstory. Who were his parents? How did he evolve gills and webbed feet? And how did he acquire his trusty steed, the Trimaran? In the film, the Mariner is introduced to us as a lone drifter, ruthlessly dedicated to survival on the endless horizon of Waterworld's high seas. But where does this hardened persona come from? Well, within the film, we are led to believe that the Mariner has formed this personality because of the prejudice that regular humans have towards the mutos of Waterworld, forcing him to live on his own outside of the communities of the atolls. However, we have to dive deeper into the novelization for more of the Mariner's backstory and for a taste of what his childhood was like. In the novel, after the smokers have destroyed the Trimaran, the Mariner and Helen are left stranded on the ruins of the boat, and in this moment of bleakness, the Mariner opens up and divulges this to Helen. "I was born on an atoll," he told her quietly. It was a whisper, really, that almost got lost in the whisper of the wind. "People wanted to kill me. I was a freak." She touched his arm. He lowered his gaze. "My mother taught me to read, but she died young. Some, when they're beaten down, get stronger." He was talking about himself, she knew. "Others, gentle ones like her, just break to pieces." Looking at this passage, we learn a lot about the Mariner. As a child, he was in fact an atoller himself and was raised kindly by his mother and taught to read, a very useful skill for the explorer of the submerged ancients. I believe this passage also implies that the Mariner's mother was also a muto, and that her abnormality indirectly led to her death. The passage continues with Helen asking, "What about your father?" He smiled. She had never seen a smile smaller or more bitter. "My father kept me alive out of the kindness of his heart," he said. "Used me to dive after fish. Kept me on a lead line. He knew if he didn't, I'd never come back. So I stole his boat after I killed him." The wind seemed suddenly colder. "I've been on one boat or another," he said, "ever since." She stroked his face, moving the hair from his eyes. "How old were you?" "A child's age," he said. "Maybe a little older." Wow, this passage contains even more revelations about the Mariner's origins. It seems to imply that the Mariner's father is in fact a regular human being, not a muto, and had enslaved the Mariner, and probably his mother as well. This raises a very interesting question. Is the Mariner actually a half muto? Perhaps more on this later. This passage also reveals the Mariner's violent sense of survival, and also a little bit about his nautical history. It seems that the Mariner acquired his first boat by killing his father, and most likely upgraded through trade to acquire the elite Trimaran, though I feel it is also possible that the Mariner may have salvaged the Trimaran from the bottom of the ocean. But apart from the Mariner's personal backstory, you may be asking yourself, how did the Mariner acquire the evolutionary benefits of gills and webbed feet, especially considering the events of Waterworld take place in 2500 AD, a time span far shorter than the natural evolution of humans would allow? For the answers to these questions, we must turn to the comic book series, The Children of the Leviathan. In the opening pages of the series, we find ourselves trapped in a dream that the Mariner is experiencing. The dream includes an eerie vision of the dreamer peering through a glass tank into a laboratory with a group of scientists peering back. The Mariner questions whether this is a dream or a memory, before he is abruptly awakened and the vision disappears. It is my belief that the mariner has in fact experienced what is known as a genetic memory, or the idea that you can inherit memories from your ancestors without having experienced them firsthand. Perhaps this vision is actually a flashback to one of the mariner's ancient ancestors manifested in the dream. This introduces the idea that the Mutos of Waterworld were born in a laboratory, not natural evolution. But let's continue reading. After the mariner saves Carlos, a boy from a mysterious submarine that surfaces and is immediately attacked by the Leviathan's minions, he is given a book from the grateful rescuee. It is revealed that Carlos, the submarine, and the book come from the Foundation, a society of people that have lived in an underwater bunker since the Great Deluge. Carlos's book reveals the work of the ancient people that first inhabited the Foundation before and immediately after the Great Deluge, and it appears that the Foundry's scientists were in fact genetically engineering aquatic people, suited for the new world covered completely in water. This helps to explain why the evolution has sped up so much in Waterworld, and just look at this image that suggests what a full Muto would look like. I believe it further proves the point that the mariner is actually a half or partial Muto. After meeting Dr. Noah, keeper of the antediluvian records, the mariner agrees to help the people of the Foundry to defend themselves against the invading Leviathan cult in exchange for access to more of the Foundry's ancient archives. In the end, after defeating the Leviathan, who is hinted at being some sort of Muto himself, the mariner has full access to these important records. After reviewing the records, the mariner finds the archives too technical to comprehend and ultimately devoid of reasons why the Mutos were created. Dr. Noah reveals that there are 4 more foundries spread across the globe. The mariner decides to sail into the sunset in search of more answers and more people like himself. And there you have it. That is all the information we have about the very mysterious backstory of the mariner. It is a dark and troubling past that reveals that the mariner might not be a fluke of evolution as we once thought. If you enjoyed this video and wish to support the channel, please consider subscribing. We have lots more interesting videos planned that will dive ever deeper into Waterworld. Thanks as always for joining me at the Atoll.